it's okay to be professional about it. And like, send a text to your teammates. Send a text and be like, hey, like, love you guys. Or you don't even have to say love you guys. Just like, hey, sorry this didn't work out. Good luck. Da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to handle that, I think.
Wow. Look, she said you could send a text. You didn't even send them a text message? Not even a text message?
Hey, you gonna tell your teammates what we got going on here? Nah, screw it. They don't deserve it. They're not worth my time. They're not worth my energy. I don't even know these people. I barely showed up.
You couldn't even say thank you to your teammates for the work that y'all put in together, the relationships they thought they were building.
And Stephanie White was covering for her knowing she didn't want to be there.
The WNBA just witnessed one of the most shocking betrayals in professional sports history. And it's all coming to light thanks to Sophie Cunningham's explosive podcast revelation. What she just exposed about DeWanna Bonner's departure from the Indiana Fever isn't just unprofessional. It's a complete destruction of everything we thought we knew about veteran leadership in women's basketball. This isn't your typical player departure story. This is about a supposed Hall of Fame legend who literally ghosted her entire team, abandoned Caitlin Clark when she needed mentorship the most, and walked away for millions of dollars without even sending...
That's when I was in Phoenix. And then we gathered here into Indiana. And like, it was kind of a surprise that she was signed to Indiana anyway. And so we'll take her in a heartbeat. Like, she's a Hall of Famer. She's a hell of a basketball player, can score from anywhere on the court. But she got to Indiana and she just like really wasn't happy.
Like, Caitlin Clark thought you was somebody she could be around and look up to and learn from, and you just stabbed her in the back. No text message, no phone call, nothing. Low down dirty.
I didn't form any relationship with them. I mean, man, I did know Sophie from when she was here, but screw it. Screw it. Screw the team. Screw my teammates. And I'm glad Sophie Cunningham let us all in on a little secret. DeWanna Bonner didn't even let them know what was going on. She didn't even make them privy to any information that, hey, team, this isn't working out for me. I'm thinking about getting out of here. It was nice knowing y'all. Sayonara, sucker, see you, wouldn't want to be a...
Single text message to explain herself. Sophie Cunningham just pulled back the curtain on one of the most disgraceful exits in WNBA history, and the details are absolutely devastating. When DeWanna Bonner decided to quit on the Indiana Fever midseason, everyone assumed there was some serious personal crisis happening behind the scenes.
Sophie Cunningham said, hold my beer. I got a podcast. I got this platform. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm not going to toe the company line. I'm not going to protect narratives. I'm not going to follow agendas. I'm going to tell you how it all went.
Fans were speculating about family emergencies, health scares, maybe even something life-threatening. The organization kept things vague, talking about personal reasons and giving everyone the impression that this was a temporary situation that would eventually be resolved. But Sophie just shattered that narrative completely. There was no family emergency. There was no health crisis. There was no sudden personal tragedy that forced Bonner's hand. What actually happened was...
Bonner was trying to do was go play with her significant other. The WNBA is not a serious league. Why? Because you've got actual players in this league that are in romantic relationships with other players on other teams. And you've got players making decisions pretty obviously because they're trying to get to their significant...
So much worse than anyone imagined. Bonner simply decided she didn't want to be there anymore, and instead of handling it like a professional, she chose the most cowardly exit possible. She didn't communicate with her teammates. She didn't explain her reasoning to the people who had been grinding alongside her every single day. She just vanished, leaving everyone to figure out what went wrong on their own. Think about how cold that is for a second. These women spend months together, traveling from city...
On the team, taking the money and running, not even being professional about it. Again, there's no professionalism going on here, folks. Between the personal reasons, meanwhile, the front office knows what's going on. The organization knows what's going on. But the team is just as in dark as the fans were. Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, just as in the dark as we were.
That left their team under those kinds of circumstances. Hell, we thought she had some kind of... Hell, was she getting a tumor removed or something? It's personal. It's personal. No, she just didn't want to be with the organization anymore.
She literally acted like a 6-year-old. Everybody like DeWanna Bonner's a legend. She's a vet. This is the most pathetic way I've ever seen. The most pathetic way I have ever seen anybody.
City, sharing hotel rooms, going through the physical and emotional grind of professional basketball. They build relationships. They trust each other. They depend on each other both on and off the court. Bonner was supposed to be the veteran leader who brought championship experience to a young team that was building something special around Caitlin Clark. Instead, she became the example of everything a professional athlete should never do when facing adversity. The most heartbreaking part of this whole situation.
Nobody could possibly remotely believe that there's any class to that whatsoever. Like, what are you doing exactly? Didn't tell the teammates anything. Teammates she was just sharing a locker room with, playing basketball with.
Is what it did to Caitlin Clark. Here's a rookie who came into the league with unprecedented expectations and media attention, looking for guidance from experienced players who had been through championship runs. Clark specifically wanted to learn from someone like Bonner, someone who understood what it takes to succeed at the highest level of women's basketball. She was excited to work with a player who could teach her the mental side of the game, help her navigate the pressures of professional sports, and show her what veteran leadership actually looks like. Instead, Bonner stabbed her in the back. No explanation, no guidance during the transition. No attempt to soften the blow of losing a key veteran presence. Clark thought she was getting a mentor and role model, but what she got was a masterclass in how not to handle professional relationships.
Like the players. She didn't like the Fever players. She didn't like the way things were. She just didn't like the team. So she left basically saying, F you. Which is absolutely, I don't care how much you hate these people. You signed up for it. You can leave. You were refusing trade, you're doing all this, and you didn't even have the decency to tell the teammates sorry it didn't.
Betrayal goes even deeper when you realize that Bonner's departure wasn't driven by some noble personal sacrifice or unavoidable life circumstances. Sophie revealed the real motivation behind Bonner's exit, and it's absolutely infuriating. This wasn't about family obligations or career-ending injuries, or any of the legitimate reasons that might force a player to step away from the game. Bonner was actively plotting to get out of Indiana so she could play with her significant other on another team. She was having conversations behind the scenes about her exit strategy while pretending to be committed to her current teammates. She was taking money from the organization while planning her escape throughout the entire time. The level of deception involved here is staggering, while her teammates were showing up every day, putting in the work, trying to build chemistry and develop as
over this. I suspect in every one of these podcast episodes Sophie does, the mob is going to come after her in every one of them.
None of these players wanted DeWanna Bonner to touch the ball. Not only score. She got swatted by Natasha Howard, and it's the happiest I've ever seen Caitlin Clark. It is the happiest I've ever seen Caitlin Clark jump up when Natasha Howard swatted her after she airballed. They wanted to absolutely
unit. Bonner was essentially counting down the days until she could leave. She let everyone believe she was going through some temporary personal difficulties that would eventually be resolved. The front office knew what was really happening, but the players who actually had to share the court with her were kept completely in the dark. This creates one of the most frustrating aspects of the entire situation. The organization had insider knowledge about Bonner's true intentions, but they chose to protect that information instead of being honest with the team. So you had players like Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Sophie Cunningham wondering what they had done wrong, questioning whether they could have been more supportive, trying to figure out how to fill the leadership void that Bonner created with her sudden departure. Meanwhile, fans were speculating about everything from serious medical procedures to family tragedies. The entire WNBA community was sending thoughts and prayers, assuming Bonner was dealing with something genuinely devastating. The reality was so much more mundane and selfish than anyone could have imagined. She simply decided that her personal comfort and relationship priorities were more important than her professional commitments and relationships with her teammates. What makes this even more disgusting is how obvious Bonner's unhappiness was from the very beginning. Sophie admitted that it was already surprising when Bonner got signed to the Fever in the first place. She never seemed to fit in with the team's culture or playing style, and her lack of enthusiasm was apparent to everyone around her. Instead of addressing these concerns professionally or requesting a trade through proper channels, she chose to string everyone along while secretly planning her exit. The complete absence of basic professional courtesy is what really exposes Bonner's character. Sophie made it clear that nobody was expecting some emotional farewell speech or heartfelt letter expressing love for her teammates. A simple text message saying, "Sorry this didn't work out. Good luck," would have shown the absolute minimum level of human decency. That's literally all it would have taken to show respect for the relationships and time investment that her teammates had made. But Bonner couldn't even manage that minimal gesture of courtesy. She treated women who had welcomed her into their locker room, fought alongside her every night, and invested emotionally in building chemistry as a team like they were complete strangers who didn't deserve any explanation or closure. The level of disrespect is breathtaking when you really think about it. Sophie's willingness to expose this behavior publicly shows the kind of courage and leadership that the Fever actually needed. She knew there would be backlash for speaking honestly about what happened behind the scenes. The WNBA doesn't appreciate players pulling back the curtain on these situations because it damages the carefully crafted public relations narratives that protect players who don't deserve protection. The league proved this point by hitting Sophie with a massive $1,500 fine for her first podcast episode, which is triple what she got fined for calling a referee useless on TikTok. Think about that for a second. Speaking honestly about unprofessional teammate behavior gets you fined more than publicly criticizing officials. The message from the league office is clear. We care more about protecting our image than allowing authentic conversations about real problems affecting teams and players. But Sophie's response has been perfect. She's basically telling the WNBA that their intimidation tactics aren't going to silence her. She's got endorsement deals, growing popularity, and enough financial stability to treat these fines as a cost of doing business rather than a real deterrent. Her general manager had to pull her aside like she was getting called to the principal's office to warn her about more fines coming. But Sophie's commitment to speaking truth is unwavering. The broader implications of Bonner's unprofessional exit extend far beyond just one selfish player leaving one team. This highlights systemic problems with veteran leadership in the WNBA and how experienced players are supposed to mentor the next generation of talent. Young players like Caitlin Clark deserve so much better than what Bonner provided during her time in Indiana. The beautiful irony of this entire situation is how much better the Fever have become since getting rid of Bonner's negative energy. They're currently on a 5-game winning streak. Their playoff positioning has improved dramatically, and the locker room chemistry is healthier than it's been in years. Every player who's still there actually wants to be there and is committed to the team's success. It's a perfect example of addition by subtraction, proving that toxic veteran presence can be more damaging than having no veteran leadership at all. Sophie's truth-telling has created the kind of accountability culture that championship teams need. Her willingness to call out unprofessional behavior demonstrates what real leadership looks like, and it's exactly what Bonner should have provided but completely failed to deliver. Real veteran leadership means having difficult conversations when necessary, putting the team first even when dealing with personal issues, and showing younger players how to handle adversity with grace and professionalism. The fan reaction to Sophie's revelation has been overwhelmingly supportive, which proves that basketball fans appreciate honesty over sanitized corporate messaging. Social media has been flooded with praise for Sophie's courage in exposing what really happened, and Fever fans especially feel vindicated because they suspected something wasn't right about the official story all along. The contrast between how Sophie handles adversity and how Bonner handled adversity perfectly illustrates the difference between authentic leadership and fake professionalism. Sophie takes on fines and criticism to protect her teammates and expose problems that hurt the league. Bonner took the easy way out by avoiding difficult conversations and leaving her teammates to figure out what went wrong without any guidance or explanation. Looking ahead, Sophie's podcast is clearly going to continue being a major source of drama and controversy, but that's exactly what the WNBA needs right now. Too many players have gotten away with unprofessional behavior because nobody was willing to call them out publicly. Sophie has become the conscience of the league, holding players accountable for their actions and showing fans what's really happening behind the carefully managed public relations facade. The Indiana Fever's ability to overcome this kind of internal drama and emerge stronger proves they have the championship mentality necessary to compete at the highest level. Teams that can handle adversity and turn negative situations into positive motivation are the ones that typically perform well when the pressure increases during playoff runs. Sophie Cunningham has shown what authentic veteran leadership actually looks like, and it's built around loyalty, accountability, and fighting for your teammates even when it costs you personally. Her influence continues growing while the team maintains its success, proving that authenticity and commitment ultimately win out over selfishness and convenience in professional sports. The WNBA needs more players like Sophie who are willing to speak truth, and fewer players like DeWanna Bonner who disappear when things get challenging, that Reed Triclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.